Hello, I'm the infinite being currently called Elizabeth of Lore, and today I am transmitting from my portal, my interdimensional portal that travels me through the multiverse constantly. I actually am planning to put a warning sign for anyone who enters that you are not guaranteed to return to the dimension from which you entered. But that's neither here nor there. Today, I have a message that I want to share about the year 2023 in which we are currently traveling. We are currently scrolling through time in 2023. I got this message actually before 2023, and the prophecies have spoken true. So here it is. This is a strange year, and very sacred, as all years are in their own way, all moments. This one in particular, however, has a particular characteristic. So, two messages. And if you're someone who receives messages, you may have gotten both, or you may have gotten one or the other. I've heard people speaking one or the other of these messages. One of them is that for some of us who have endured a great amount of hardships in our lives and who have done a great amount of work to recover from it, those of us who have listened to the messages of the multiverse as they have come in and who have allowed that guidance to send us in new directions, even when those directions have been uncomfortable or unknown. We're going to have a very abundant year. 2023 will, in fact, be a year that frees us from old ties and nurtures us in ways we have never before been nurtured, and lays a foundation for our abundance and our wealth and our fortune in whatever form that may be. Whatever needs repairing will be repaired. Actually has already been repaired because we already did the work, but we'll actually see the fruits of that work now. However, there is another side to this coin. It will not be a wholly untroubled year for us. You see, it is now our turn to act as sacred poison. Sacred poison is a term that I gleaned from the teachings of ayahuasca, who herself is a sacred poison and a sacred medicine at the same time. Sacred poison is something that those of us who I'm talking about, those of in this group, have ingested many times in our lives. And what I'm referring to are moments, tribulations, experiences, people, events that are extremely painful, sometimes even to the level of traumatic, but that lead us nonetheless where we need to go. Snake medicine, like ayahuasca, that weaves and winds and fills us with remorse and grief and pain and poison, but in the end reveals itself to be a medicine, a part of the journey. So you'll recognize it if you're in this group, you'll recognize that as a familiar sounding term. You'll feel it in your spirit that you have ingested a lot of sacred poison. And this year, we are the sacred poison. Now, I don't mean this to say go act reckless and hurt people. No. That's not at all what I mean. In fact, that's the exact opposite of what we're going to be doing. In fact, we won't even be inclined to want to do that. We will be sacred poison to others who are in need of it simply by standing in our own power, simply by setting and maintaining boundaries, simply by existing. And I got the message that I was going to be sacred poison for many people during this year of great abundance for myself. And it's only February, and already I am. So, what this looks like are, as I said, standing in your power, setting boundaries, doing not really much besides just not taking people's bullshit. And around you, people begin to act quite strange. So people who you thought you knew quite well, maybe you knew for a long time, or you didn't know for a very long time, but you felt a close kinship with, or they had demonstrated a certain type of behavior consistently, will suddenly, in reaction seemingly to you doing not much, act completely out of character in ways that are shocking and disturbing and clearly demonstrating that they're experiencing some sort of distress or pain in reaction, supposedly in reaction to you. Now, it's important to remember that when you trigger someone, or also when someone triggers you, really that's something in yourself that needs to be looked at. It doesn't mean that you have done something wrong by triggering them. Sometimes we do things to trigger people, and we have behaved in ways that do require some kind of apology or remedy. But if all you've done is set a boundary and maintain it, and it's a reasonable boundary, you're just not allowing people to control you or to do you harm or to treat you in ways that devalue you or whatnot, then you haven't done anything wrong, right? This is actually our sacred duty, is to take care of ourselves first and foremost. So you're actually doing exactly as you should. And when people react negatively to that, that is on them. You don't need to apologize to them for that. However, it can be stressful and upsetting and cause you to question yourself when you have people around you, people you care about especially, cutting you off or walking away from you or behaving in ways that cause you to need to cut them off and walk away from them. And so something to remember, if you are one of these beings who this year are being tasked to be sacred poison to others without even trying, just remember that this is not happening to you. This is not happening for you. You are a catalyst for someone else. So a good tool to help remember that is meditation. I like to meditate and just place myself in the center of the whirl of existence. So I first envisioned this whirl while I was at a Sufi dance that was put on by Dance Lab in Brooklyn. They're awesome. And while I was doing the Sufi whirling, one of the teachers said, see it as everything moving around you and you are staying still, right? Even though physically my body was the one turning. And when she said that, I saw it. I saw everything around me whirling, and I was the one that was still. And I was the one at the center of everything. And that is the reality. We are eternal beings. Our core essence is not in motion. It's not affected by all this chaos. We are still. And all the energies that whirl around us, all the illusions that whirl around us, are just that. They're just illusions. They're just shadows. They're just a little play acting out around us while we sit in the center and observe. It's okay to experience the energy of whatever emotion you're experiencing. In fact, that's good. But also remember that you are the stillness in the middle of all of that, that those are just energies whirling around your core essential being, right? So you can hold compassion for yourself and for others and not attach to these experiences because they are happening in your life, but they are not your lesson. You are a catalyst for others, right? Now the other group, the other message, are the ones who are having the sacred poison happen. And you, my friends, are in for a little bit more of a difficult year, but the advice is the same: to meditate, to stay in the center, to remember that there is something of you that is eternal and great, and that everything that is happening seemingly to you is happening to you, it's happening for you, but it's also not, because there is a part of you that is eternal and still, right? And for you, it's not that you haven't done the work. It's not that you are not powerful or spiritual. In fact, every single one of the people for whom I thus far have been sacred poison this year have been spiritual, powerful beings who have done work, a lot of work towards healing. However, if you're familiar with tarot, there's a term that we call a tower moment, and this is related to the tower card, which essentially a tower moment is when a lot of things fall away, when it can be physical things where you lose a lot, or it can be internal where your emotions suddenly flare up out of control. And it happens, these tower moments, when there's a wall that you've built too high, something in your life has a need to fall down. You have become hardened, too hardened in some respect. And when the sacred poison is applied, really it's not that which is causing the wall to come down. It is actually the wall itself that is causing it to come down, because if the wall were not so firm, then it would bend, right? The Space Needle, I'm from Seattle, in this dimension, from Seattle. The Space Needle is the building most endurant against earthquakes, to which the Pacific Northwest is prone. And the reason, if you know what the Space Needle looks like, and most people do, it's a long, skinny, strangely shaped building, kind of like a needle with the UFO at the top, hence the name Space Needle. The reason it's the safest, most stable building in an earthquake is because of that long needle-like body. It will bend and sway in an earthquake, whereas a more sturdy structure is prone to falling, right? So when we attach to something, when we build some wall, some defense, something too solidly, then the right something comes along and knocks it right down. But it is not the fault of the earth that trembles beneath you that your wall has fallen. It is the structural instability of that wall, because you built it too high and too solid, and you did not build it to sway with the energies. And this is a lesson in learning to sway, right? Those of us who have ingested a lot of sacred poison in our life already, we have learned, some of us, through a lot of trial and error. We have learned to sway by necessity. We have to flow with the changes because we have so many forced upon us. And it's a hard lesson if you allow it to be, if you build your wall too high, if you attach too much to outcome, or to having things your way, or to denying something, or to working towards something, or whatever it is, control, fear, whatever it is for you. And this sacred poison is coming in to tear down that wall, that structurally unstable wall that you've built up, so that you can have something safer. And the reality is that this is an act of love, because none of us who are acting as your sacred poison this year are doing it out of spite or harm or ill will. We are not coming in with the intention of harming you and breaking your walls down. We are just standing in our own power. We are just setting our own boundaries. We are just rising ourselves, right? And many of us have had sacred poison applied to us where the intention very much was to harm us. And that is a lot more difficult to deal with, trust me, than someone who is just taking care of themselves. So be grateful that your trigger is just someone who doesn't want to put up with any bullshit. And not someone who actually wants to come in and cause you harm and take away your life. So those are the messages of the year. That there's the group of us who are going to receive a lot of abundance in the physical dimension. We have received blessings in spirit, right? And now we are going to receive blessings in the physical dimension this year. And those blessings are going to look different for everyone. It really is whatever it is we need, but they are going to be blessings that are apparent blessings, like to our ego selves, because sacred poison is a blessing as well. But these blessings, I mean things that we will recognize and go, look, oh, this is awesome, I love this, right? However, we will have to endure the task of acting as sacred poison, and that means that we are going to have some of our own little mini tower moments, in that we are going to lose people and opportunities related to those people and things like that, while those people have their tower moments. However, it's important to remember again that it's their tower, and you will always have your cup replenished. Whatever it is you lose, you will have returned to you, because it is not your loss. It is not your lesson. And then there's the other group of people for whom it is your loss and it is your lesson. And how well you listen to that lesson, and how well you accept the falling of your walls, is what will dictate what happens. Because if you fight and thrash and take all of the bricks from the wall that came down and push them together and just go, I'm going to build the wall back up, then the same thing is just going to happen again and again and again and again, and it may not be as nice the next time. But if you say, okay, I see what's happening here, I see that I had a structurally unsound wall, and I forgive myself. It's not even going to matter. You don't need to forgive yourself. You had your reasons for that wall, and it served you at the time. But I accept that it is now time to no longer have this. I've had my tower moment. I don't need to repeat this lesson. Then you can also enter into this place of great abundance. Which isn't to say that not everyone will receive abundance in some form or another. And just to say that whether you have one tower moment or two, or an entire series all year, really depends on how well you listen to your lesson. So that is the message I received for 2023. It's all about sacred poison. Let me know what you think about sacred poison in the comments if you'd like. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. That's all I have to say. Have a beautiful rest of February and a beautiful rest of 2023. May we all come together at the end of it more whole, more abundant, and more connected than ever before.